Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. Welcome to the Hop Pole Studios podcast. I nearly said the Hop Pole Position podcast, which is the old name. Welcome. This is episode 68. And joining me today is Mike from CGS. How are you?
Hey, man, it's great to be here. Thanks so much for inviting me on. It's really good to catch up with you. Thanks for coming on my live show last Sunday.
Anytime. Yeah, that was a real blast. It was good fun, but I do need to set up the whole thing where you can have 6 people going on at once. That was brilliant.
Yeah, a little bit hairy at times, especially with Henning trying to mention certain philosophers.
Yes, he was daring everyone to get sweary, which was hilarious. Yeah, we don't mind a little bit of rude language on this channel, but fair warning to anyone who's watching who has younger viewers, we do tend to drink a little alcohol on stream and say a couple of naughty words every now and again, so fair warning. We try not to be absolute sailors or drunkards, but everything in moderation and responsibility. Cheers.
Cheers.
So
I'm drinking an IPA tonight.
Oh yes, the hazy IPA.
Hazy days. Yeah,
yes.
Indeed.
The one that makes me feel hazy the next day.
Yeah.
Or is that German
very
lager,
cloudy.
any and all?
Oh, we had so much German lager. There was one night, I hope you don't mind me telling the story. I think you and I and Andy, the guitar geek, I think we were the last to bed.
We were.
And I think it was the Sunday through to the Monday to the final day, and you had to get up and sing in videos.
Oh, that was the worst, yeah.
And I think we went to bed at 4:30, and we had finished 2 crates of 20-litre bottles of beer between however many of us there were. And I think we kind of had 10 left to finish between the 3 of us.
It's hard to calculate because the number of us went down and down and down, and the number of beers wasn't. But yeah, I took this picture on my phone. That's the last 3 beers that were in the crate.
And that was us, wasn't it?
And we finished them, and yeah, my head was very, very sore. Not when we woke up at about 8 o'clock, I was fresh as a daisy, but by 10 o'clock, I felt like death. Oh, hello.
I've gone small.
There we go.
That's unusual. Oh, hello.
Yeah, sometimes Skype does this funny thing where if the connection goes a bit weird, it resizes you, which is trying to be helpful, except it's a pain in the backside.
Proverbials for OBS. Yeah, absolutely. No, we had an amazing time. Really, really few boozy evenings. It was. It got a bit tricky there, didn't it? But it was fun.
Yeah, but it was always just a casual. There was never anything crazy. It was just some guys who hadn't met before having a great time.
Yeah, absolutely. I seem to recall there was one crazy incident with some crazy fool trying to throw pork bones into Jamie Humphrey's window.
Yes, I may have had something to do with that.
All good fun.
Our chat refresh. Our little chat thing on screen isn't doing anything. I wonder if it's... Oh, there we go.
Usually it goes up the middle and we can see.
Yeah, usually it does. Restream's been a bit funny recently, but I found where the refresh button is, so hopefully that'll do the right thing from now on. But yes, like I say, we are live. So coming up tonight, we're talking about quite a lot has happened this week. Komplete 13 is out, including Guitar Rig 6. Oh my word, it's been about 300 years since Guitar Rig 5 came out. Izotope have just released RX8, which has guitar-centric controls. There have been lots more plugins, stuff from PRS, and of course there is news in Behringer Corner. Stick around. This is the Hop Pole Podcast. Roll the intro. And there we go. Let's see if the chat wants to behave itself today, because Restream has been odd recently. They seem to have taken away the social tweeting kind of feature, which is interesting.
Yeah, YouTube haven't been that helpful either, because I'm certain I've got notifications clicked for your channel, but it didn't notify me of last week's podcast at all, which is weird.
Yeah, bizarre indeed. And yeah, it seems like it doesn't want to play nice today either, but I'll see. might need me to go into something else and press some buttons. Where?
Technology. It's great when
Technology,
it works,
yeah. Isn't it absolutely brilliant?
Frustrating when it doesn't.
Oh, connection expired. You'll need to reconnect on the dashboard, whatever that means.
Ah. I'm sure you'll get it working. You seem to be the technical expert. I certainly found that. Yeah, fingers crossed.
Oh yeah, if anything can go possibly wrong, it will go wrong to me, because I'm the one in the middle of the tech, which means that all fingers get pointed this way.
Yeah, of course.
You've done some teching in the past, haven't you, Mike? Doing a lot of, is it theatre stuff, your background?
I do. I'm a lighting technician, operator, and installer. I'm a sound engineer for live work mainly. I do a bit of studio stuff as well, but that's mainly home stuff now. And in the past, I've done a bit of studio engineering as well, but nothing like the expertise that you have. And I've been watching your stuff with Glenn on Reaper and also with Warren as well. So. Yeah, really good stuff, man.
Yeah, it's very much appreciated.
I'm certainly from a technical background, yeah.
Well, I suppose that's where my technical background came from. Even as a young child, I would accidentally break things, and I didn't want to be in trouble, so I'd learn how to fix it quick.
Yeah.
There's nothing that spurs you on, like, oh, I'm going to be in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. Well, my uncle, unfortunately, he's passed now, but he always told the story that he would never let me forget it. I was about 5, and they were all in the kitchen having a chat, and they thought I was sitting watching the television, but I wasn't. I was actually taking the back off of his television and seeing how it all worked. I hasten to add, with it still plugged in and on.
A CRT. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
yeah.
I see where this is going. Oh, dear.
Well, I was very fortunate. I'm still here.
Yes, I've seen a few older engineers who have stories or scars or yes.
There's some big capacitors in the back of those things.
Terrifying.
You're still worrying about the comments, aren't you? You can't get.
I'll just have to leave it. It's fine. I can see everybody's comments on YouTube, so I'll just have to respond in kind. And everybody seems to be doing absolutely fine. This is
Might
good.
see if I can get them up as well. I should be able to get them up as well, shouldn't I?
Yes.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, it's doing the thing again.
It's resizing me because I'm looking.
Yeah.
Oh, I won't bother. I'll let you do the comments. Sorry about that.
You pressed the button. No, it's fine. It's absolutely fine. If you want to have a look at the comments, you can see what comes up at the same time I do. That's Skype being Skype rather than
Skype being Skype. Yeah.
Yes, it's one of the lesser evils right now. I'm researching into alternative methods of getting people to call in, but then of course some of the quote unquote better quality, more reliable ways of getting people to call in are also a lot more technical than get on Skype with the account you already have, call in. Yeah. It can be a real pain.
I really love StreamYard when I've got guests. It just kind of takes all the guesswork out of it, and that's what we used on Sunday when you came on, obviously. But there's restrictions on what you can do. I've worked out how to feed a second screen in so that I can bring a browser up, or I can bring in sort of media player and things like that, so that I can show videos, and that's wicked. But no, you've got it pegged here, man, with OBS. It looks great.
Yeah, it's really good. I'm using OBS in the studio as well because I'm starting to do more live streams from the studio of like live mixing and that kind of thing, which is a pain though because it means I've got to set everything up twice in completely different setups, which is fine, you know. It's
a pain in the neck though, isn't it? You've got to get everything twice.
But it's almost done at the studio now. I say almost. I just installed more capture cards this week and more cameras and everything. It's looking a little bit like Henning's setup now. It's getting terrifying.
I was going to say, isn't it always the way? We come back. Carl's done the same. You know.
Carl's in chat, by the way. Hello, Carl Golden.
Hello,
he's in
Carl.
chat. Hi, how you doing?
Hey, man. Great to see you, brother.
Yeah. Welcome, Mr. 250,000 subs, Carl Golden. Yeah.
278, I think, isn't it?
Really?
Or something like that.
Blimey.
He's got hundreds of them. He could share a few out, really, couldn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, top bloke, Carl. Really, really like Carl.
He's a dude, but he came back from Hennings exactly as I did first time round, and he's now going, I've got to get a Blackmagic design. I've got to get an A10 Mini. I've got to get the pocket cameras, and it's like, yeah, I know exactly how you feel. It's exactly how I felt coming back last year.
Yeah, it does make you feel a little bit. But then, yeah, in a way, I was already most of the way there with the setup because being a technical, nerdy kind of thing, I'd already seen some of Henning's videos and clued in a little bit. My setup is not the same as his. I mean, his is absolute Rolls Royce type stuff. I mean, the fact that we could just, but we could just plug an SSD in and suddenly just have 4K live switching everything with no extra setup. That's incredible.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, that's one of the things I like about the A10 Mini. I've got this little drive here, and on one side, it's got the USB-C.
Yeah.
And on the other side, it's got the USB-B. And now my video throughput is crazy quick. Set up 2 cameras.
Yeah.
Give myself a list of things that I want to cover and literally go between the 2 cameras. And then my edit is like cut the bits out in between. Easy peasy.
That's brilliant.
I love it. It's half my creative time, because before I was downloading images and video from both cameras, separate audio, and having to then sync that in post. And now it's I just put the lavalier on to the main cam and take that as the audio source, and boom, there it is.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Same for live.
My setup's a little more convoluted than that, unfortunately. But then I think we do slightly different things, because I do things like live mixing and tracking with bands.
That's great.
But I have an extra need because of that. That what I don't want is for the monitor speakers to be blasting into the voiceover mic.
Absolutely.
So it gets difficult. How do you do that live without having an extra person constantly on the ball? Yeah. So I've got 2 computers now. I've got the streaming computer and the mixing computer. So they're separate. Cool. And it's set so that anytime any sound. Oh, come on.
I didn't touch anything. I promise.
No, it's not you. It's Skype. And
shall I move over a bit?
There we go. Yeah. So yeah, and any time that I anytime I press play or get any sound coming through from the mix computer, that goes through to the streaming computer to another copy of Reaper, and that has the voiceover mics on a separate channel. And so if it detects any sound coming from the mix computer, it kills the voiceover mics.
Ah, clever. A little bit like we have with the guitar stuff when we were at Henning Studios. So if you spoke while you were playing, it kind of bleeds all over the voice. It wasn't gated, but it was just at that level that it would effectively nullify the voice.
Which is great, but my levels in the studio, for whatever reason, don't work out that way, and there's quite a lot of spill on, because if you think about with me mixing, the speakers are probably an arm's length away from me,
and at a volume,
and the voiceover mic is probably it's just above the camera, but it's close. It's too close. So I've had to get clever. I hate having to get clever. That's the thing. At the end of it, I'm like, look at this, it's great. But yeah, having to do it's the real pain. Anyway,
yes,
let's talk about the news.
The news.
There we go. So, one of our headlines this week is Komplete 13 from Native Instruments has been announced. And so it's getting a bit silly now that the ultimate version, the collector's version of this, takes 1.1 terabytes of space.
Gee whiz.
Yeah. Mike, where have you gone? There you are. Hello. Metaphorically, where have you gone? I know where you...
I've gone all astray.
Oh, hello. NDI source reset transform. There we go.
Oh, look at that. I love it. I love it.
There's always a button. There we go.
It's all, you know what you're doing, man. I'm very impressed.
Oh, I've had this go wrong on me week after week after week.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
But not
Well,
often. It normally works pretty well.
well, yeah, except for when it doesn't. I mean, this is episode 68, and I do this every week. But before that, we had another podcast which we did every month for about 3 years. So everything that can go wrong will go wrong, and has gone wrong to me. So
It's called Murphy's Law.
yeah, absolutely. Well, that's why I get really quick at fixing things, because it's not my first rodeo.
Brilliant. So this Complete 13 means, as you were going to say, Guitar Rig 6.
Yes, because Guitar Rig 5 came out years ago. I remember getting Guitar Rig 5 as a university student.
Wasn't it back in the dark ages?
It was. It dates me a little, because they went very quickly. They went Guitar Rig 3, 4, 5, 5.1.
And then 5 stayed for ages, yeah.
And yeah, that's forever. And they've really got left behind, if we're being honest. But now they're back. And
well, yeah, TH5 and TH6 and how many? I don't know what they're up to now.
Oh, yeah, well, that's the thing. There's everything. Amplitude 4 came out, and that's pretty good. Yeah. Neural DSP have absolutely dominated.
Yeah.
But yeah, Guitar Rig Pro 6.
So what's the updates? What's happened?
So there's an entire new engine, apparently. So it's right back to the drawing board.
Wow.
Which is what they needed, honestly, because when Guitar Rig 5 came out, processors were nowhere near as powerful as they are now.
For sure.
And at the time, I would argue that Guitar Rig 5 was head and shoulders above everything else. It set a precedent. It was powerful. But
for sure.
Yeah, as people have learned more and more about not just the components in amps, but how to translate that to software, the guys at Native Instruments, I don't know why they've not touched it, but yeah, they're a whole new set of amps, whole new set of effects.
Wow, and I can see they've got a plexi type amp head in there, which is always my go-to, my favorite. That's what I always end up playing on the Axe effects. But it makes absolute sense that the modeling software and the abilities with modern processors has jumped on in leaps and bounds.
Really has. Yeah, I mean, that's going to be my litmus test if I try Guitar Rig 6, is it's always the plexi for me, is the dead giveaway as to whether it sounds, that bottom end that's a bit squishy but still quite full, and doesn't just collapse, because that's something I found on some of the less good amp sims, is that you start pushing the gain on something like a plexi and it just turns to mush very quickly.
For sure. Have you tried the Strymon Iridium?
Yes, not on camera, but I have tried one briefly in person. I was very impressed, I've got to say.
Man, the plexi on that, I just thought I was in the room with the plexi. And because Henning let me try his out while I was there, and it was like, yeah, man, that is definitely the way to go. It just sounds like the real thing. I was so impressed.
Good stuff. Do you remember what you were plugged into, or is that to the sands of time at this point?
With the Iridium, I was just plugged into these very headphones that I'm wearing now.
Oh wow!
And front end, I had a Friedman guitar, and this very mic cable here, and that was it. That was the signal path in its entirety, straight out the pedal. And in fact, I didn't even feel I needed that much reverb, because the way that it works with the room mic and moving that away, it was giving a great room sound as well. So I was blown away. So I've got to try and speak to them and get hold of one. But who knows?
That'll be I'll definitely have to revisit that and talk to the Strymon guys, see what they can do.
Well, I've been using, I don't know if you saw while I was out at Henning's place, but I've been using the Line 6 Pocket Pod as kind of a leveler, so that everything gets put through the same thing.
Yeah.
And seriously, the Strymon made me have second thoughts, because again, it can be powered from a 9-volt battery or a battery bank, and I was just thinking, Yeah, man, this could be the way to go. But I guess that's the way that things are going in the modeling world generally. And it looks very much like this new guitar rig is going to be pretty sweet.
Yeah, absolutely. There's all the effects you'd expect. There are some amps in there that's what they call the intelligent circuit modeling. So
Ah,
so they've actually gone back, and instead of it just being some sort of EQ with a gain stage, they've gone back and modeled the actual circuit, which makes a lot of sense.
well, it certainly does, definitely.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean there's some odd choices in the new amps. Like there's one called the Bass Invader, which is a vintage solid state bass amp. Now, as a bass
Wow.
player, I certainly wouldn't be picking vintage solid state as my go-to.
No, give me an Ampeg. What are they VT? Oh,
Oh,
I've forgotten.
SVT, yeah.
SVT. Give me
The
one
ones
of
that
those any day of the week. Yeah,
the ones that weigh
the
as
one,
much as a man.
the ones that weigh as much as a small car.
Yes.
And yeah, you can take them to a gig, but then you can't play because you're too knackered because you used all your energy to get the bass amp there. But they sound amazing. I remember seeing bands at the Marquee, and I'm really dating myself now, back in the 80s and early 90s, and quite a few of the bands up there, especially Panama, my favorite band. He had a rig composed of two of those things, and
Wow.
when he first hit the first bass note, it was like having a sledgehammer put to your chest. It was amazing.
Yeah, they are incredible, but two of them, my word.
I know, what a greedy devil.
Yeah, I mean, anywhere that's less than 2,000 capacity, you can have a single SVT, and that you don't need you don't need a PA system. That's
And
enough.
and if you knew the old Wardour Street Marquee Club, that probably fit on a really good night, maybe 300 to 400 people.
Jeez.
And yeah, it was tiny, all painted black, including the bar and everything behind the bar. And oh man, so I had some real good times there.
Just had a comment in chat. Solid state is fine for bass. It is, but if I was picking an amp model, that's probably not what I would go to. Not vintage solid state. Like it's probably like a Laney Class AB or something.
Yeah.
I would have thought, because a lot of the classic Laney amps were quite well regarded. You know, the whole Geezer Butler type thing. Yeah, but yeah, it's interesting that's coming out with Komplete 13, which is very soon, if not. I think it's already out. I got the email from Native Instruments this week. I think it's just been ta-da! There you go.
Yeah, they've all done that this week, haven't they?
Yeah, it's been a big week for news. Talking of which, Izotope have released RX8, and I know that you know all about this one, Mike, because you just dropped a video on this one yourself, didn't you?
I did indeed, yeah. I was really fortunate to get an early heads up, and I had the beta version for a couple of weeks. So I missed it really because I literally, since I've been back from Gear Street, I've been playing about with it. And I've used RX7 since I got it back in TGU a couple of years back. And it just has rescued me so many times. Whenever I mess up on my audio, you can pretty much guarantee that the Izotope software will rescue you. But the really interesting thing with the new RX8 as opposed to RX7, for us anyway, is the new guitar denoiser feature, which takes out amp hum. It can remove scratches from acoustic guitar. When you're moving around, you get all that string scratch sound, and also can take out transient pick noise as well. So if you weren't intending to pick quite so hard, it can reduce that as well. And it's got loads of little templates that drop down from the menu, giving you different options on what to do on that guitar denoise. And the other thing that I didn't actually have chance to demo on my video yesterday, because it was released yesterday, in fact.
Yes.
And I think I had to release at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, which is not my usual time, because the guidance was 10 a.m. Eastern Standard, which is so I was a good boy and obeyed the rules. I did notice when I went live that there'd been a few videos that come out 5 hours earlier, which is a little bit cheeky, but there you go. But the other thing is the rebalance. the music rebalance update to that is incredible, because previously, I don't know if you remember on RX7,
Yeah.
but you could adjust the levels of vocal, drums, bass, and other instruments.
The
But
rebalance, yes.
yeah, the rebalance, that's right. But now they have automatically added the ability to output those as stems. So you can get individual tracks for vocal, for drums, for bass, and for guitar or keyboards, or any other instrument, basically, which means that in terms of, I used to use it for my kids, for my daughters, when we couldn't find karaoke tracks for the songs they wanted to record and sing to. I
Oh
just
man,
removed the voice.
it's
But
terrifying, isn't
now,
it?
oh, it's amazing though, and the separation. I really wish I'd had the chance, but being a guitar channel, I focused on the guitar aspect of it.
Yeah.
But the separation is really, really good. It doesn't sound 100% clear as if they are individual stems, as you would expect coming out of a fully balanced mix or a mastered mix, but it's pretty damn fine.
Yeah, I will be releasing my own video on RX8, but I've been so under the gun with other projects that mine unfortunately didn't go out yesterday. In fact, if I get some time tonight, mine's going to be edited and out this week. But yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, yours is definitely more guitar centric than mine, which on reflection mine probably should have been, because that's the new features, but never mind.
No, there's so much they've improved. They've got a new loudness feature as well, which is pretty much it's not a compressing mastering approach. It really just deals with the loudness. It clarifies and sort of thickens up and punchifies, if that's a word.
Yes.
It gives a bit of sparkle and a bit of oomph to the final output, which is a really good addition as well. So they've updated quite a bit on it, actually.
Yeah, they certainly have. And someone was saying about the cost in the chat. There is an Elements version which is £87.
Yep, it's really covers everything, doesn't it? Because they've got from 87 to 880 quid, which is
it's a lot. But the advanced RX8 is honestly, hand on heart, a professional tool. It's the kind of thing that professionals will buy to use in budgets that, I mean, how much does it cost to reshoot a take on a film? If you think about the hire, the crew, the everything, compare that, or even getting someone in for ADR, getting a big name star in for ADR for a day can cost you thousands. And if you buy this and use it once, it's paid for itself in that context. So,
totally. And it does the job. That's the key thing. And I think that's the most important thing about any piece of software or any plugin. And this is standalone as well as plugin. It just needs to do the job. And Izotope, just for the last 3 years or however long it is I've been using it, a couple of years, it's just done the job. If I've been at a trade show or even at NAMM where there's tons of background noise and I've been trying to interview somebody, it's always come through from it. I've always been able to get a result that's usable. So absolutely amazing bit of kit.
Absolutely. And it's the kind of thing that if you don't need it, you don't need it. But when you need it, this is the tool to go to. And yeah, I mean, it's incredible. And so they keep adding clever new features that just get better and better. And I mean, even something like that, the mix, the way you can separate out into stems.
Yeah.
I've had people call the studio before and ask, like, I've got this mix of a band from, I don't know, 90s, early 2000s. We don't have the originals. Is there anything you can do with it? And I used to say I can't really do much with it because what can I do? A bit of EQ, a bit of compression. With tools like this, you can change the game.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Separating it into stems and then being able to mix the separate stems into a whole new mix. That's
ridiculous. And even EQ the stems as well, so that you can get back some of, because it's also got the audio repair. What's the feature called? It's late.
It's D something. I mean, there's dialogue match if you need to match the new
No,
sound to old sound?
it's one of the features that they've updated. They've got the woe and flutter. They've also got the
Spectral noise?
spectral noise. That's it. Spectral
Yes.
noise rebalance. Now that takes audio that perhaps is like MP3 or stuff that's been heavily compressed, like YouTube videos, or indeed this podcast. Once it goes through YouTube, it'll be quite compressed, and you can take the output from that, or you could take the output from the stems of a track that you separated and bring it back to life by taking out all the digital artifacting, which is amazing. Because
stunning.
You lose a lot of top end and top mid range, and it loses that sparkle, and you can put all that back in.
Yes.
It's amazing. And also it's a 30-day free trial as well. So anybody can go and download it, try it out for 30 days, literally the full advanced package, and see what we're talking about. So it's well worth a try.
Absolutely. So yeah, get on that if you need it. Check it out, because it might not be cheap, but it's absolutely worth it for those who need it. Off topic for a second, Martin from Adam Hall's just popped in chat. Hello, Martin. Hope you're doing well.
Hey, Martin. Great to see you. Look what I'm wearing, mate.
Yeah. He did comment on the shirt. He said, looking good in the shirt, yeah.
And it's also in my video for tomorrow as well, buddy. And in fact, on Sunday, my live show is mostly dedicated to our visit. So really looking forward to doing that as well.
That's one thing that I do wish I'd been able to do, because mine and John Brown's flight was at super early time on the last day, so we had to go early.
You, man.
Yeah, but everybody who could go went to the Adam Hall factory. So
yeah, there was 4 of us. There was Lee, there was the wimpy little
so and so, yeah,
and Carl and I. So we had 4 of us, and also of course, how could I forget Max? Because he drove us then to the airport. There were 5 of us, in fact. So yeah, we had a really good time, and it would have been good to have you there, mate. And next time you should definitely go and check it out. And I'm hoping that next time they'll have the full light show working as well, because we had a bit of an issue with that. But I've still got a video of the light show to show on Sunday, which is absolutely incredible.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, the LD Systems audio stuff as well is, man, it is just the dream.
Wow, the lads from 42 Gear Street are having a proper old chat. We've got a Facebook group for the Gear Street guys who went, and I've just looked over at my phone. There are 41 notifications. So,
oh man,
they're having a proper old chat in there. We're gonna have some catching up to do.
Ooh, boy. I think they're probably taking the mickey out of us. Look at that.
Yeah, blimey.
Oh no. Tons of stuff going on there.
Yeah.
Have you found that my phone has been going ping, 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 ping since we've been back, and it's been great.
It's changed my life. It's like I've got friends.
Yeah, but just the stuff you learn as well. That's one of the great things about these events for us YouTubers. It's meeting other YouTubers. I know that you gave me a lot of insight into stuff that I wasn't aware of, and hopefully that was reciprocated with several other people there. There's just so much to learn, and so much that it helps to be, because how many times do we get to meet other people who sit in front of a camera and talk about gear and do videos like we do? Not very often.
Yes, I think that's exactly it. There were 13, 14 of us, and there are not that many people in the world. I mean, not to sound self-aggrandizing or anything, but there aren't that many people across the world who do exactly what we do, where we talk rubbish into a camera about guitars and that specific thing. So we are quite a small community, really, in a way. And meeting everybody from the European contingent all at once it bowled me over for sure.
It was amazing.
Yeah, as much as I was kind of disseminating some of my knowledge about the tech side of things, I learned a lot as well from a lot of you guys about things that I should be doing and angles that I should be approaching from. And yeah, there's a lot that we all learn from each other, and it's been great. And
also the friendships that were built off of that, because we do have a a thing in common, and it was really great just to meet new people and chill out and have a good old chinwag.
Yes, it's all about the friends we made along the way. Cheers.
Yes, as Jamie Humphries would say.
Yes,
And I
cheers,
won't go
you
there.
lovely people.
You lovely people.
Yes. One
Hello,
question in
friends.
chat. Adam, are you tasting scotch? No, I am drinking bourbon. Subtle difference.
Nice.
It is mostly bourbon. It's an old-fashioned cocktail. If I said it was scotch, I would be hung from the rafters. So I have to be clear, it's bourbon whiskey, not scotch. Otherwise, yeah, someone will have me. But yeah, moving on with the news. Leapwing Audio's RootOne. I'm very interested in this plugin. I saw Glenn Fricker's video about this a couple of days ago, and this came completely out of left field for me. How much do you look into things like sub-harmonics and proper low-end control?
Live, it's vital. Absolutely vital. And in theatre work, it's absolutely vital because in terms of building an atmosphere, you want that sub. And that's why we have massive, great big subs, as well as, obviously once you get up into the bigger stuff and you're working with line array stuff, like done by...
Yes,
my
like
friends.
LD Systems.
Sorry, I couldn't resist getting another plug in, especially since I know Martin's in the chat.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, definitely, it's really important. But I haven't actually seen this piece of software, so you were just briefly touching on it before we came on air, and I'm really excited to find out about it.
Yeah, so am I. I know the basics of it, but I need to get in contact with these guys and really deep dive into this because this is definitely in my wheelhouse. I think this will be relevant for studio as much as live if it's got zero latency, which I believe it does, but I'll have to check that. Something that I've been trying to do for years is quite often the low end in a mix doesn't quite sit. And so there are plugins from, for example, Waves, where Max Bass takes the low end and recreates it slightly higher up so you can hear it on small speakers. But then there's also Low Air, which recreates it further down so it can create a real rumble.
Yeah.
Problem with Low Air, in a way, is that if you're doing it for a film, there's no problem. Say, if you want a big boom and Godzilla's coming, you hit something and suddenly you get boom. And that's fine. But in a musical context, there are issues with it because it's not always perfectly phase accurate. And that means that if you're using it on a musical source, it can come out as kind of ill-defined and a bit whoop, 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 whoop. And apparently what these guys have done is they've managed to separate the sub-harmonics that they can generate below the usual frequency. Let's say you've got a kick drum, and for whatever reason it only goes down to, let's say 80 hertz. Yeah. Let's say it's quite a high-tuned, quite a tacky, aggressive kick drum. And I've seen producers do that kind of thing. You could use this plugin to actually generate lower tones that weren't originally in there.
Wow.
But balance them so that it's not absolute overkill. And I'm very much looking forward to trying that out on a mix because it's the kind of thing that for me could really fill out the right section or the right instrument. And I mean, there's even a control for saturation of just the harmonics in the bass. Which is an interesting way of thinking about it for me because then instead of having to use separate compressors and that kind of thing, which I don't know about you, but if I use the wrong compressor or use it too heavily, you start to feel seasick.
It can just muddy the whole sound. But I think the thing that is really interesting about this, and a lot of people don't necessarily know, even those that have been in the recording industry for a while, is there are as many sub-harmonics and undertones as there are overtones and high harmonics. And actually, a lot of what we hear in nature, you take a whale song, for example, and if you were to measure the actual sub-harmonics of that, there's an incredible depth that's beyond human hearing, but that we can feel. And that's the difference between the low frequency stuff and the high harmonics, is that we really just feel it. And if you can recreate that in music and get that into your mix, especially when you hear it maybe at a club or, nice and loud through a really good hi-fi system, it can make absolute difference between something that's incredible and something that's just pretty good, you know.
Yeah. So that's what these guys have done. Apparently, they've done other plugins: Center One, Dyn One, and Stage One. Now, I have not been
Haha.
aware. I've not been aware of these guys before, but this definitely has brought them to my attention. So I will
Yeah.
be getting in contact and seeing what this does. Seems like it's not cheap. It's 199 euros for the plugin, but
Mhm.
it's the kind of thing where if you're going to use it on every mix you ever do because you find it's just the one magic bullet, I mean, that's not really that much in the long run.
No.
Mm.
Be
Plus,
interested to hear.
yes, and there's always Black Friday.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, let me know how you get on with that, and I'd be really
Absolutely.
interested to hear what it does for live stuff, which I'm guessing might be the stage one. I'd be really keen to find out about that, and also how it would work with line array delays, because obviously when you've got a surround and you're delaying
Yeah.
the signal around an auditorium, the bass frequencies, because of the nature of the wave, they can be very much out of kilter, and that can cause all sorts of standing waves and horrible vibration feelings. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Where you suddenly feel a bit sick. Yeah, I
Yeah,
know what you mean. But then
it's
you
a
stand
yuck
2
sound.
feet down. You stand 2 feet next to it, and there's nothing. Yeah.
And it's beautiful, or gone completely. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it sounds tinny. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
I
joys of
always
audio.
feel sorry for live sound guys, especially with outside venues. If you ever stood
Yeah.
in a windy outside festival and actually
Oh,
felt the bass go, all the bass, no bass, all the bass, no bass, because the wind has moved the sound waves.
absolutely. Because
It
fundamentally, all we're doing is moving air, and when the wind blows, it moves the air away, and that's it.
yeah,
Takes it all away.
absolutely bizarh. So yeah,
Mm.
good luck to all of you because blimey. Right, so Teenage Engineering, who have become famous for their OP1 synthesizer, which is a little almost handheld. It looks like a pocket calculator. And do you remember the old Casio little white brick synthesizers?
I do.
Yeah, so it's almost that form factor.
Wow.
And so, but like really modern circuit. So
Sounds and
yeah,
tones. Yeah.
so really capable kind of thing. And it looks
And are
like
these modulating synths, or are they just digital synths? Are they creating waves and modulating those waves, or is it all digital?
I don't know. That's a good question. I would imagine it's all digital, but
In a tiny form factor.
yeah, the sounds I've heard from them are you wouldn't necessarily say that they were digital. Let's put it that way. They really
Right.
kind of cracked it. But yeah,
Yeah.
it looks like the OP2, which is nearly 10 years on from the success of the OP1, is going
Yeah.
to be changing things again. Apparently, it's great for the outdoors. Now, a lot of Teenage
Oh,
Engineering stuff can be battery powered, so it could be a portable noise making sequence machine.
wow.
Which, yeah, definitely changes things. Oh, hello. I mean, I'm not entirely sure how relevant being outdoors is at this very moment in time.
Boy, it is really relevant, isn't it? When we're all having to think about social distancing and the fact that we can have slightly larger crowds outdoors.
I
That
suppose
could
so.
be a selling point at the minute, couldn't it?
Yeah. But I mean, the OP1's been around for almost 10 years. So if they're planning this to be the next 10 years, then they're
Mm.
looking at the bigger picture as well, which is really interesting. But yeah,
Yeah, do you think we're going to be outdoors for 10 years? We could be, couldn't we? That
at
would be
this rate,
terrible.
yeah. But yeah, from what I can see, the OP2 is going to be out on the 30th of September, which is
Oh, cool.
4 weeks away. So yeah, if you're a synth nerd but you don't want to go and get a big, scary, big modular thing, this might be for you, and it's coming out very, very soon. So,
Cool.
moving on. Are you a PRS Pulse artist? I mean, chances are right now the answer is no. But that's what the news article is all about. Apparently, this is a new thing from PRS Guitars, and it's kind of a step down from their proper full-on artists like, you know, Santana, Mike Tremonti, and the like, Dave Grissom, yada yada. This is for people who would like their name to be attached to PRS, but not at that same level. And I would imagine that as one of these Pulse artists, you'll get special deals on like SE guitars and that kind of thing.
I think I've been called a Pulse artist or something similar to that anyway.
I've been called a few things, but never a Pulse artist.
Oh, maybe there's slightly different letters in there. Something
Yes,
artist
exactly,
anyway, beginning with a P.
Yeah.
Sounds great, mate.
There are a list of guitarists already here, a short list, just as examples. I'm not absolutely up to my elbows in up-and-coming guitarists, so I honestly don't know who any of these people are.
Oh, come on, be honest. Neither of us know who a single person on that list is yet, let's be fair. No, they're obviously up-and-coming artists. And what a great idea from PRS to do that, to bring new talent through and to encourage new artists that may end up being signature artists later on, which is cool.
That's the thing, I think, is that this is the kind of thing where if PRS help people out a little bit, and then if they then go on to bigger things, PRS can then say, hey, we got in there first. We were, they then have the privilege to be able to say, we helped these guys out right from the start, and then that will only help them going forward. It's very clever.
Totally. Look what they did with Orianthe.
Absolutely. Yes. She's doing all right for herself, although I've not seen her in a short while, but then I suppose we've not seen her. I'm pretty sure she was at NAMM. So she's definitely up to things.
I think she was. I don't think she's working with Sambora anymore. I think that ended in 2018. But and obviously, she's appeared last December with Alice Cooper.
Right.
Since Nita Strauss has joined, they were together at the end of I think it was a gig in Las Vegas or something like that. And she came on for Schools Out. And that was pretty cool to see Nita and Orianthe on the same stage together, which is cool.
Yeah, that is very cool. It's good to see more big name women in rock. More and more and more is always a good thing.
Oh, and we had the best one, didn't we? At 42 Gear Street, seeing Jen Majura was absolutely a joy and a pleasure.
Yeah, what an absolute force of nature she is. She's brilliant.
It's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, when I meet somebody who's well-known, established artist, I often stop for a second and try and think about what I'm going to say before I introduce myself and make an idiot of myself, because I can go bleh if I don't get my words in a row. But Jen just was like, "Hi, I'm Jen." I was like, "Yeah, hi, I'm Adam." And we just straight away she's in like a shot. She's absolutely brilliant. So yeah,
so switched on and dynamic, absolutely an incredible force of nature. You're totally right. Beautiful personality and person as well. She was, she's a special one.
She is. I do feel a little bad. She might hate me now. Actually, just fun story from 42 Gear Street is that you did one of the jams with me, Mike, didn't you? That I had the little post office.
I hope I'm the only person to steal your bass off you and play bass rather than guitar and make you play guitar, because you actually play guitar a lot better than you give yourself credit for. And I thought, I'm going to do that.
Well, thank you very much. But yes, you absolutely were the only person to give me that bass. Shut up. But yeah, the first person that I did the jam with once I got that set up was Jen. Because she was just, she had 20 minutes. So I was like, hey, Jen, you got 20 minutes, come and jam. Cool, yeah. And so we're talking, and then she goes, well, what key do you want to play in? And the little devil on my shoulder thought, what's the worst key that a guitarist would hate playing in? And I just went, B flat. And her face just went, ah! And so we did a jam in B flat, and I felt really bad after that, because it's just like, well, you asked. You said what key?
I wish I'd put ours in B flat now. I should have done that, shouldn't I, to you? Because obviously it's a little bit easier on bass.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. But yeah, to be fair, she hung in there absolutely perfectly. It's the kind of thing when you want to do a guitar jam, usually someone says E or A, or if you're feeling adventurous, maybe D.
Do you know, to those of us that don't read and are terrible with our technical ability, it really doesn't matter. It's all shapes to me. I'll play the same shapes whichever key it's in. And in fact, on the plane on the way back, Carl was really doing his best to educate me on the scales and modes, and
Right.
I was taking it in, but at the same time I was also somewhat clenching the seat with my buttocks because it was an absolutely bumpy, rocky landing,
Really.
and he's telling me in one ear, he's going, and then you've got to think about flattening the fifth or sharpening and I'm going, yeah, and bless him, he was absolutely right, and I took it on board, but at the same time, I'm looking out the window and the plane's going like this. So I thought he was maybe trying to take my mind off it. Maybe he thought I was a bit of a nervous flyer.
Oh, well,
But
when it's
no.
turbulent, it doesn't take much to be a nervous flyer, does it? I mean, woo.
Well, it's not natural for us to be up in the air in a tube of aluminium that's only about 5 mil thick and pressurized. That really isn't
Yeah.
natural,
Oh,
is it?
it's no, and it's the strangest thing that for me, I was an air cadet when I was younger, just kind of fell into it. So I ended up doing my kind of young pilot's license, the microglider thing,
Wow.
5 years before I learnt to drive. Which is the weirdest thing,
Ah.
doing it backwards, because when you fly in, especially a small plane, you can see out the glass near your feet. And yeah, you can see out of everywhere, and it's the most disorienting thing. And yeah, so that's why when I came to my driving test, the instructor's like, "Have you driven before?" I'm like, "In a manner of speaking." But in this
Yeah, a
case, I
little
only have
bit
to go
higher.
forward and left and right. Yeah.
Oh my
But
word.
it's funny where life takes you, but it was one of those things where I just did that because I filled my time, and then we got a call one day, and it's like, "Do you want to go and do flying?" And it was like, "Yes." Air,
Hell yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
air cadet, the air. Let's go in the air. That's a thing. Okay. And before you know
Wow.
it, yeah. But yeah, bless
What
my
did you
dad.
fly? What did you
The,
fly? Chipmunks?
no, Grob tutors, I think it was, not tutors. The whatever the microgliders were called, the ones that had massive wingspans, but they
Oh,
still had about 100 horsepower engine. But
yeah.
yeah, if you turn the engine off and feathered the blades, you could go from Manchester to London in one go. But then yeah,
Oh,
they were bizarre, those things. I loved it.
sounds like loads of fun, man.
Yeah, but yeah, absolute yeah, big shout out to my dad, who would get up at 5 in the morning every Sunday morning and drive me an hour and a half drive to get there. Which is
Wow.
it's amazing now, being a dad. I'm looking at that going, oh, sod that. Oh God.
Oh man, no, when your kids grow up and they want to do that kind of stuff, you'll
Yeah,
just say yeah. And
abs-
it's amazing how quickly. I mean, I've got a teenager now, and I'm turning into the taxi service.
yeah.
And you know the funniest thing is, I really don't mind.
Yeah. Oh, I've got all that to come because she's only 2, bless her.
Yeah,
But yeah.
and make the most of it. It goes so fast, man.
Oh,
So I was saying this to Carl because his little one's only tiny,
yeah.
and you turn around and they 1 minute they're 18 months, the next minute they're 13 years old, and it's like, what? Where did that go?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's terrible. Last week was Ivy's first birthday, and now she's 2.5.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Yeah, it is terrifying. But yeah, let's get this news finished, and then we can talk more about whatever we want without having to feel like we've got something to come back to. Newfangled Audio, which already sounds cool, have got a chaotic synth called Pendulate, based on a swinging double pendulum. That sounds
Oh,
insane. Now,
sounds unusual.
it does. I learnt how to build synths when we were at university, and my mate Chris is in the chat, and he did more of that than I did. And when I say build
Hey,
synths, I
Chris.
mean doing it in software. So you've got your oscillator, your filter. You just drop those things in. I don't mean soldering the whole thing. So we understood roughly how they worked.
Mhm.
And then you look at something like that and you go, what is this absolute manic voodoo?
Well, surely a pendulum's just an oscillation. Double
Yeah,
oscillation, two pendulums. Is that maybe I'm
maybe.
oversimplifying it?
It's got a
Pendulate.
it's got a control for the amount of chaos.
Ah,
That
okay.
that makes me a little nervous when I'm thinking, how am I going to make a synth sound? It's going to be like that Swarm pedal. I don't know if Lee's released his Swarm pedal
Oh
video yet, but
man.
oh, your face.
Oh,
Oh,
don't. don't. Even just the word swarm now means something completely different to me. I hated that pedal. Give me an hour with it, and I'd have got something really nice and musical out of it. But give me the 1 minute that Lee gave us to try and dial something in, and then another minute to work out a flipping riff. No chance on earth. It was like. It was harder than the flight controls of the Enterprise.
Yeah. I got really lucky, I think, that I sat down for mine and I started doing some hammer-ons, just did a little, so that while I was playing, I could hear for it going crazy and not crazy, and I kind of found something that didn't go crazy-ish and just stopped. And I thought, you know what, I'm not going to push my luck. This sounds okay. I think it took me about 20 seconds, 25 seconds. If I'd taken the whole minute, I would have messed it up royally. And I
kind of found a nice sound and then moved away from it. I don't want to spoil the video because I don't know if it's been released yet. But the person that won, I can't wait to hear what they come up with because it will be very interesting.
Yeah, me too. I mean, that's the thing. Nobody's heard, even between us. We know who won because we talked about it, but nobody's heard anybody's results. Oh, I
don't
can,
tell me.
but
Don't
I won't
tell
tell you.
No, I'm looking forward to the surprise again. I know one thing. Spoiler alert: it definitely wasn't me.
Yeah. As a surprise entry, I went in to do my entry, and there was a surprise entry of Michiel, who's one of the organizers, and the funniest thing I've possibly ever seen. Me and Henning are in the back of the shot, just laughing until we split. Oh my word! So yeah, I can't wait for you all to see that because that was so funny. Oh my word!
I miss Michiel.
Yeah,
I miss the guys there. They're such great guys that Henning's got around him. They're absolutely amazing people.
Yeah, Michiel was in chat earlier.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, he's been around.
Oh, I'm so gutted I didn't get the chat up because I would have said hello to him.
Yes, and now instead we've got somebody called Poo Ninja.
Ah, the Poo Ninja's in.
Yes.
Hey, Poo Ninja. Good to see you, man.
Hi. Yes. Right, last news article. Every week we have Behringer Corner wherever possible because Behringer are always doing something to get themselves in the news.
Yeah.
And this week is no exception. In this week's Behringer Corner, we've got a new microphone. Does that look like anything else you might recognize, Mike?
Yes, a lot like some sort of furry creature that's mythical in Canada. Is that right?
Yeah, not Bigfoot though, because that's what that's called. They are ripping this off so blatantly.
It literally does look like the Yeti, doesn't it? The blue Yeti.
It is absolutely. It's a black version of a Yeti. It's
yeah.
It does stereo, but it also does cardioid and figure eight and everything. So it's pretty much a straight rip off. It's it's USB as well,
and it's probably half the price.
I would have thought so.
That's what they do, don't they? They do that so well.
Yeah, we don't have a release date and pricing yet, but these pictures have been leaked, and so it's not going to be long.
I've got to do a review of some of the Blue Yeti mics. I've been speaking to their people, and I'm looking forward to seeing there's a couple of new studio mics that they've got that are already out. They've been out a while.
Oh,
and I just haven't got around to doing them yet, but I really do want to because they look really cool.
Yeah, Blue have always done some really interesting stuff. One of my favourite mics that I had a long time ago, and I can't find a replacement now, was one called the Blue Ball. I don't know if you ever saw
that. Was like the Snowball, but smaller, wasn't it?
Bigger. It was a big,
was it
fat
bigger?
thing.
Oh, was it?
It was a weird microphone. It was a big, fat blue ball that screwed onto the end of a stand. And it had a preamp in it that was phantom powered, but you didn't have to use it. If you turned it off, it was a different sound.
Oh,
which was bizarre.
So like dynamic and
well, it was dynamic, but with kind of a preamp with an EQ shape in it.
Right.
And if you turned off the preamp and just stuck it in front of a guitar amp and drove it a bit, it was instant Queens of the Stone Age. It
Oh
was
wow.
that really mid-focused, really barking kind of whoa kind of thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I definitely miss that because as a studio tool, it's a lot of fun to go. If you got a guitarist who's searching for a certain thing, and you open up a box and bring this big blue ball out, and they're like, "What is that?" Trust me.
Yeah. Trust
Yeah.
my blue balls.
Yes. Yeah. Talk about inspiration. And that was the news. There we go. Oh, and you
Oh,
seem
I'm so
to
look at the
you've grown.
size of my. Yeah, I have, and I haven't been eating anything.
Honest. There we go. You do have a
Yeah.
very cool looking studio there, Mike. I can just see all the
Oh,
bits in the
thank
background.
you.
I
Thank
mean,
you. Yeah,
that's.
well, you can see my little drum kit there. Let me go this way.
Oh, there we go.
My TDK Roland, a few guitars there,
Sure
a
stuff.
couple of
You.
amps, and yeah, I'm very lucky. I've got a lot of toys to play with.
Yes. I have a rack of guitars in the studio, but some of them are really great, and some of them I keep looking at going, why are you still here?
I know that feeling. I say that with most of the guitars in my rack.
Yes, well, with your history of what the channel was originally, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I think I've only got one of those still out here, and that's out here because I did so much work on it. It actually plays, and I can get away with using it on some recordings. But the majority of the ones on the rack there are review guitars, so they're just there because I've been reviewing them.
That's something I've got into a little bit recently, but I don't know if I want to go full guitar reviewer because that's not really my main thing. But I do have a guitar from Vola, which was really nice. Did you see the real kind of rainbow finish one that was on Henning's wall?
I did.
Yeah, so it's that one. I've got one of those. Yeah,
Very
so
nice.
Joss Allen sent that over to me just before we left, so I got 20 minutes to play with it and then put it down and go and get on a plane.
I did exactly the same with this Cort Les Paul.
Oh, yes. I saw the
Cort,
video. Yes, the LP style. Yes.
Yeah, it's a CS 300, CR 300.
Okay.
And I can't wait to do the sound demo on it because it's got active pickups, believe it or not. And but they are now. Does this make sense to you? They are low output active pickups.
Oh, funnily enough, that's a trend recently, and I'm all for it. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the newer EMGs that I think it's the 57 and 60 something that are
That's what this has got in it.
There you go. Yeah, I've played those, and I was very impressed because.
Oh man, I've never heard anything like it. Well, I say never heard anything like it. I've heard a lot like it, but it's very, very vintage sounding, but with a little bit more punch, and it'll knock your overdrive and your break up over the edge if you want it to, but back it off, and it sounds just like the real deal. Really, really good. I can't wait to do it.
It's fascinating, isn't it, that EMG have finally kind of clued on to the fact that the active technology doesn't have to just be compressed 2K mids, everything.
Yeah. And so high output that you can never get a decent clean tone.
Yes. I mean,
well, you can, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's a very different clean tone. Yeah. So some of the bands that I work with actually like that clean EMG tone not because it's good, but because bands for the last 10 or 20 years that have done the heavy metal thing with cleans, have used it, and that's become part of their conversation now rather than the lower gain thing, which is really interesting. But then almost every time I put a Les Paul in their hands with something a little bit more vintage and go, try this, and they go, I like this. It's like,
I like this. Yeah, I blame Metallica.
Yeah. Yes, Metallica I've got a lot to answer for, including pretty much everything that I do.
So it's a good thing, man. It's a good thing.
Yes. I had a very strange upbringing of being, I think I was 5 years old, and we had the Black Album on double vinyl. And that's an experience, I can tell you that. Just being
so you bringing your daughter up in the same vein. I hope you're playing her all the latest hardcore and metal stuff.
Yeah, I'm a bit of everything. So yes, Yeah, I'm currently listening to a lot of stuff like Devin Townsend, where it's a bit more, yeah, that big orchestral thing as well. And
Amazing musician.
yes, he
I
makes my head hurt.
I love his stuff. I was lucky enough to spend quite a bit of time with his bass player Nathan Navarro
All
when
right.
we were out at TGU,
Mm.
and we got on really well. I made a couple of videos with him as well, but just listening to that guy play, and I mean, Glenn will like this. He's a bass player.
Yes,
um,
he's a real
and
bass player.
Oh, mate, what he doesn't know about music theory, you could write on the back of a postage stamp. But yeah, really cool. I love that kind of stuff. It's beyond progressive, isn't it? It's like it's a little bit. I feel the same because I was so uneducated when I went out to NAMM on current stuff, and these probably not current really anymore, but animals as leaders.
Yes.
My word, what a revelation they were to me when they played live on that main stage in the evening. I was
Mm.
just sat there going,
Yeah,
what?
and you go, humans can do this now?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. It's like, where did
yeah,
they get the extra arm and the extra fingers and all that good stuff? It's like when I first saw Tommy Emmanuel play, and you
yeah,
think, how?
yeah.
And then you think, oh, but I'm glad he does.
Yes. You're looking at the hands going, how is this camera trickery working in real life? And then it's like you're looking for the fishing wire and that kind of thing. Like, no, this isn't a setup. This is real.
Absolutely exquisite. Love it.
Yeah. It's yeah, I was I think yeah, I'm quite lucky in a way that I was almost, especially as a young kid, I was um exposed to a lot of this kind of stuff where I think my first show that I ever went to was Steve Vai. And
Wow.
as a first show, that's the kind of thing where you just stand there for 2 hours and just go, ah. But afterwards have a whole different appreciation. I mean, I certainly don't consider myself to be anywhere near that kind of level of musician. But I think as a young kid, when you want to learn and the bar is set that high, you
Oh, yeah.
can fail and be nowhere near that bar and still reach a level where, you know. Oh,
Absolutely amazing artist. I was fortunate enough to see him play with Whitesnake at Donington,
oh wow.
and I also got to see Malmsteen's Rising Force at the
Ooh.
Dominion Theatre in London. So it wasn't a massive theatre, but that was pretty incredible as well. So every generation there seems to be people pushing that bar and making it, making us sit there and think, how the hell do they do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Right, next order of business today, just before we sign off, does anyone in the chat have any questions specifically for Mike? I'll leave that for a couple of minutes because it does take people a little while to type and to come through, of course. But this is
And
something
you'll
I
have to
liked.
read them if there are any,
Yes,
because I've not got the
absolutely.
chat.
You've got the chat, I've got my
I
glasses
haven't.
on, so between us, I think we'll be all right.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, music therapy Laz, hello.
Hey, music therapy Naz MTL's in. Lovely to see you,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, it does seem like quite a few of my regular viewers are also your regular viewers. There does seem to be some good crossover.
So go
Yes.
on, give us a list of who's in, because I honestly I haven't got the chat up, so I don't know who's
Let's
in.
have a
So
look.
I apologise to anybody I haven't said hello to.
So we've got Evan Ward. Marty V is one of my mods in chat. Marty's a regular on a lot of channels.
Hey, Marty.
Mage Prometheus.
Right?
The
Doesn't ring a bell.
No, the aforementioned Poo Ninja.
Oh, of course, Poo Ninja. Absolutely, he's a legend.
Yes, we've got Michiel, Studio Shamil.
Hey, cool. Miss you, man.
Yeah, Danny from Danny Boy Studios. It's one of my regular
Right.
viewers.
Cool.
Dylan Yu.
See, now I've asked you to list them and
Yeah.
know them.
Yeah, there's quite a few have put stuff in over the stream. Oh, question from Evan Ward: best live guitar sound that you've ever heard?
Wow, is that for me? Okay.
Well, it's for both, but let's start with yourself while I have a quick think.
Well, I'm going to say, actually, this will be a surprise because you probably wouldn't expect it, but I'm going to say Doug Aldrich.
Huh.
When I saw him latterly with Whitesnake. We went to see the Whitesnake Def Leppard double headline,
Oh yeah.
and we saw them at the O2. And when he was doing his solo, and I think Reb Beach was the other guitar player who also had an absolutely stonking sound.
Right.
There was something about Doug Aldridge's tone, his high gain tone, if you like, that was really tuneful, even though it was really, really high gain. So I'm going to go with that just off the top of my head. But obviously, I've seen a lot of incredible bands over the years, but that really stuck out. I remember standing in the audience, watching them, thinking, "Oh, is that a plexi? What's he playing through? I've got to find out what his rig is because that sounds so sweet."
Yeah. Did you ever find out what the rig was? So
Nope. Nope, I didn't. I
right.
didn't. In fact, do you know what? I'm going to look it up because I remember thinking that at the time, then went on, enjoyed the gig. And until you asked me that question, or until that question was asked, I'd forgotten that I thought that. So I can now go back and look. So thanks for reminding me.
Yeah. No worries. And yeah, my favorite guitar tone was one that will definitely surprise a lot of people. And it was the early 2000s kind of new metalish band Stained, if you remember them vaguely. That they were well known for their kind of acoustic-y ballads, like there was one "It's Been a While" that was kind of big chart success. But when they did heavy guitars, they really did heavy guitars, and they were one of the first bands that I heard that I knew for sure used baritone guitars.
Yeah.
And that made a lot of difference. And this guy, Mike Mushock, was using, I think it was a Schecter baritone, which in the early 2000s was not really done. And he had a wall of Marshall cabs. But I believe he was using JMP1 preamp, which I think I can see one behind you.
You can indeed.
Yeah.
Just there.
And however he was using it with that baritone guitar was the clearest, crunchiest guitar tone I think I've ever heard in my life.
Wow.
And it was surprising that in Manchester Apollo, which is about a 2,000 capacity venue, quite often the sound guys get it horribly wrong in there, and it just sounds like a big crashing wave.
Yeah, we have a habit of doing that.
Yeah. But they came out, and this was before all the sound noise level reduction stuff was in force, and they cranked it. That gig was one of the loudest I've ever been to, but you could pick out every single note. And
nice.
that was just and that was my journey towards discovering things like baritone guitars and 7-string guitars and guitars that are designed for purpose. Because up until that point, I pretty much knew about the Strat, the Tele, the Les Paul, and super Strats like the Gem. And beyond that, I wasn't really aware of guitars that were made for specific applications, extended scales, all that kind of thing. And I'm still not particularly comfortable with playing those kind of things, but I definitely have an appreciation for guitarists who do that. And do it tastefully.
Did you say do?
I may have said that. Or worse.
Isn't it funny how we've both gone for high gain stuff that still had clarity? That's amazing that, both of us have picked a high gain guitar tone that still came across and was articulate, because I think we all like those high gain tones. And I think that's what it is about the Marshall Plexi that makes it so classic, because its high gain has got a character and definition, and it's really clear. And I think that's something that really appeals to I don't think it's just guitarists either. I think that's why a lot of the classic rock and roll bands appeal to people, because it's got that tone.
Absolutely. I mean, maybe it's the thing of me growing up. I was listening to a lot of classic rock, like Free and all the kind of that stuff sounded great, but I think I was looking for higher gain stuff by the time I was a teenager, and looking for that real angry. But funnily enough, one of my favorite guitar tones, and I didn't see these guys live until years later, was Rage Against the Machine, and all Tom Morello was using was a Strat into a JCM 800 that didn't have the gain that high.
Yeah, absolutely. You can also see one of those here as well.
Yes. That's the thing, is it wasn't the highest gain sound, but it sounded heavy, and that drove an exploration for me into different tones of what makes heavy.
Yeah.
Because you can get an 8-string guitar and just go all day long, and it just doesn't necessarily sound quote unquote heavy.
Yeah, I know. And I think the whole does it chug thing, I get it. I do get that.
Yeah.
But that isn't necessarily the thing that makes a guitar tone articulate. And I think that's the key thing with guitar tones, especially in a mix. They need to be articulate, because if they're too thick and too compressed with so much gain and distortion, you lose a lot of the definition, and you can't hear the articulation. I don't mean just in terms of tone and tune, but I mean in terms of pick attack, in terms of the decay of the note, the way the whole chord rings out, the overtones and all that good stuff. I think that's really important. So that's a really good point. And nice question as well, man. Excellent.
Yeah, well done. One last point on that is that I was surprised last week by our good friend Mr. John Brown. He's one hell of a rhythm player, and he really plays heavy, but I set an amp up for him in one of the videos, and the gain on this Soldano was on about 2. I mean, it sounded like the game was on,
isn't it?
Yeah, it sounded like the game was on 27 out of 10. But yeah, it was because he was really playing it, but really playing it clean as well.
Yeah.
Like every note stood out, and he wasn't just clanging them like I often do. Which is why my style is developed very differently, because I can't do that nearly that cleanly.
It's good fun being a hack, though, man. Don't ever knock being a hack. I love being a hack.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. But yeah, one last question from the chat then, and then I think it will be time to sign off. Where was it? What's the best Harley Benton? Oh god, you can see where this is going. For a bass player to learn electric guitar on.
Okay. For a bass player, right. Well, it doesn't actually make a great deal of difference whether you're a bass player or not, because at the end of the day, the guitar is a different instrument altogether.
Let's pull up.
Already alluded to.
Let's pull up.
Oh, you can do it.
Ta-da!
Look at that.
This is Thoman's electric guitar range.
Right.
Let's have a talk. This is just categories.
I can tell you what my favorite Harley Benton guitar is very, very quickly, because it's a recent addition to the clutch here. And it is for a very, very simple reason. And that is I like the LPJ, which is a Les Paul Junior. It's got a single P90 in it. In fact, if you're okay with this, I'll quickly go and grab it and show you it.
Yeah, please do.
Cool.
I wonder if those are under single cut, because I know Les Paul's are, but the Les Paul Junior style in here as well. Let's change the brand. Let's change the brand to Harley Benton.
So this is the little devil, and as you can see, it literally just is a single pickup, a single volume, single tone, very, very straightforward. It's a single cut, and there's nothing all that special about it, but it's got a nice thick neck and a nice thin body, and this thing just plays and is set up really, really beautifully. And the reason I like it is the single P90, using the tone control, you can get all of the tones that you want to out of it, but it's also still got that bite and that P90 bite that, again, I think it's that articulation thing for me.
Oh, there we go. Here's what I think is the black version of that. The Harley Benton.
That is indeed.
Yes.
SC Junior, that's the one. And it's just very, very easy to play. On this particular one, the action is very simple, very, very low, about a maximum of a millimeter at the 12th fret. And yeah, everything about it, the fact that it's just got a wraparound bridge, all very, very simple. And it's, oftentimes we get hung up on gear. This is what's the price on this?
175.
175. You know, we get hung up on spending a fortune on gear. We get hung up on specifications, on how many pickups it's got, whether it's coil tapped. But sometimes it's really good just to go back to something that rocks and just sounds good. And this sounds great, clean, sounds great, dirty, and sounds really good with high gain as well. I've not been able to beat it. And what's more, with all the Harley Bentons, I love this cut, this heel cut at the back, which gives you much better access up to the top. So when you're asking about easy to play, especially for bass players, yeah, it's easy to play. All the Harley Benton single cuts are made that way, and they're just really easy to play. So that'd be my choice, and it's cheap, reasonably priced anyway.
Yeah,
and does the job.
What's interesting is they've not price-wise cut corners in some other ways, because there are other like 3 pickup guitars that are less expensive than that, and you ask the question, where have those corners been cut?
Yeah, well, this has got a composite nut, so it's got like an artificial bone nut, and the transfer of resonance with this bridge. I don't know if you can see how close that bridge is to the body.
Oh, that's very
and
close.
It's nice and tightly screwed down. The resonance transfer is just amazing. I don't know if you probably won't be able to pick it up acoustically, but
oh wow, yeah,
there you go. I mean that without plugging it in, and this is a tip I give to all guitar players: don't plug it in first. Play a guitar acoustically, even if electric guitar. Play it acoustically first. See how it responds. See how it rings. And that'll tell you everything you need to know. And so you can imagine what this sounds like plugged in.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I've dropped a link in the chat for you to go and check that out on the Toman website. So yeah, good stuff. And thank you, Mike.
Oh, awesome, man. I can't believe what the time is. It's 23 minutes past 9. And I know that you normally only go on an hour. I'm sorry if I've rattled on and chatted the hind legs off of the donkey tonight.
Not a problem at all. It almost always goes over because we're always having a lot of fun. I mean, I've said before, but there was one time it ended up at 2.5 hours, and that was no surprise, Warren Hewitt.
Oh, he can talk the legs off a donkey as well.
He certainly can. Yes, he's a great guy, but wow, he can talk. Yeah,
I did a thing called Top 5 in 5 and I'd recorded his at TGU.
Yeah,
and it's meant to be your top 5 list of anything in 5 minutes, so that it's for somebody's tea break. Now, everybody else managed to do, you know, I maybe cut out the odd 30 seconds. Warren Hewitt's went on 15 minutes. 15 minutes, and it never got released because it wasn't a top 5 in 5. It was like a top 5 in 50. It was like it was crazy, but lovely guy, love him.
Yeah, that sounds like Warren.
Talented brute.
Yeah, I talk to him fairly often, but when I do, if I'm preparing myself for a 5-minute phone call, I set an hour aside. Yeah, that's him. But yeah, I mean, yes, this could go on forever, but I'm sure everybody else watching has other things they need to be doing. So I think that's a good time to call the stream. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. It's been a pleasure, as always. Mike, thank you so much for being my guest this week.
Thank you for having me on. It's been an absolute joy, man.
Anytime. And yes, check out the Patreon and subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to Mike's channel, CGS, if you weren't already aware of Mike and what he does, because he does a lot of, like, just seeing guitar reviews of very affordable guitars, amongst other things. And there's a lot to be seen there. And I've started watching your videos, Mike, and it's been quite illuminating for me.
Oh, hello, friends.
Hey, friends. Yes. Yes, that's subconsciously been implanted in you now as the new greeting.
Jamie Humphries, enabled.
Yes, yes. Jamie Humphries would use a very different word instead of friends. But yes, I'll get him on the podcast one week, and that will absolutely be all bets off for swearing. have no idea how he manages to go on camera and not swear, because as soon as the red light's off, he's like a sailor. Mind you, so are we.
Yeah, just a little, yes.
Yes. Anywho, before we get ourselves into trouble, I think it's time to head off. So thank you, everybody. And check out the podcast on iTunes or Spotify if you'd rather be listening, because it's out every week. And I'll see you there's going to be a new video every day until the next podcast, which is amazing because of all the content from 42 Gear Street. And if not, I will see you 8 p.m. UK time next Thursday. Thank you, everybody, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye. Hey, everyone. That might be the end of the video, but if you fancy carrying on this conversation, we have a Discord server. Link is in the description. We're also on Patreon, which is something you can really help us with. We also are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Hop Hole Studios. See you there.